Welcome to Unusual Monday here on the Bruce Williams channel. On Unusual Monday, I feature watches that are off the beaten path. They are not the usual suspects, and you may or may not be familiar with these micro brands, independent brands, or mainstream brands. Today, I am featuring a micro brand based in Seoul, South Korea, one that I have featured previously on my channel. And let me drop in some pictures of that watch, the Model 1. A big fan of that, very traditional in the design language. But this Model 2, this next model from this South Korean brand, I like a little bit more. And let me tell you why I enjoyed this watch and also talk about the negative elements here. I'm going to be objective as I present this piece that you, again, may or may not be familiar with. Now, this model is 40 millimeters in case diameter, very nice lug-to-lug dimension, thin, comfortable, proportional on wrist, and the design cues are blending subtle circular form with linear form. And this is a nod to design characteristics that you can find in Korean art and architecture, but most noticeably Giwa roofing tiles that are slightly flared, carry no dramatic angles, but definitely draw the eye in. Now, if we take a look at the case, this mid case, it arcs downward and then the lugs flare inward. And there's a little scoop here if you run your finger along the side of the lugs that are, very uncommon. I think I see it in Patek Philippe, I see it in Ming, I see it in FP Journe, but it's not common. And it's kind of fun that it's here on the Model 2. Now, the bezel has a concave curvature, it's high polish, and the dial will have concentric texturing on the outer track with a sunken inner ring. So a lot of curvaceous elements that are not in your face, they're not dramatic, but they are present. And the linear is also present here with your faceted applied markers and a large handset. And then the bracelet links are also angled with polished chamfered inner areas. So the linear is not as dominant here as the circular, but it's still a very nice marriage. And I think the dial details are really where the watch shines and is the most noticeable. To me, it's reminiscent of Grand Seiko. If we think about Grand Seiko, we think about the dial work. It is just about second to none. We have large applied markers, a lot of light play, good reflections, good texturing, and the handsets are larger than what you normally find in other brands. And I see those same elements here on the Pitzmann too. Not at the same degree, but again, this watch costs far less than a Grand Seiko would. So take a look at how nicely the applied markers and handset reflect light and are noticeable. This handset is thicker and wider than most traditional handsets, and I like the polished chamfered edges. I like the fact that the hour hand is squared off, and that width matches perfectly the width of the polished applied marker, the faceted marker underneath. And then notice the length. The hour hand just barely grazes the inner portion of that applied marker. And the same could be said with the minute hand. The length of the minute hand just barely goes to the edge of the applied marker beyond. Now, the applied markers angle inward and the loom sits lower than the elevation of the outer edges. And then the inner portion of these applied markers flare downward toward the sunken portion of the dial. So again, just a nice job of reflecting light, standing out, and being legible. Now within the watch is a Solita. It's a Swiss-made movement. The SW300-1 is the caliber, and it is based off of the 2892A2, which is nice and trim and widely respected in watch collector circles. Now this example will have top-level finishing with blued screws, purling, striping, and a custom openwork brushed rotor that carries the Pitzmann signature. The power reserve on this movement is 56 hours, so it is upgraded. That is nice to see, and it is also nice to see that this watch will not have a ghost position. Important, I think, especially when you have a watch that retails for $999. Now, other items of note: a domed sapphire crystal inner anti-reflective coating, 150 meters of water resistance with a signed thread down style crown and screw pin connectors in the bracelet a milled deployant clasp, and 2 half links in the bracelet. So no, no micro adjustment here, but you should be able to get a good fit with the inclusion of the 2 half links. Now, from my experience, just with other $1,000 priced watches, the leaders I think come from Longines, they come from Zen, they come from Christopher Ward. There are a few other brands included there, but I would objectively say that this Pitzmann 2 is on par with the leaders in that price segment. And if I had any nitpicky criticism, it would be that the bracelet link edges here on this bracelet that has a 2mm taper are Omega Speedmaster harsh, not abrupt, not going to cut your wrist, but a little bit noticeable. And us watch collectors, we notice those details. Lastly, my example here for the review had a little squeak to the links when I first unboxed it, but nothing that some wear didn't fix over time. So those are the negative elements here. Overall, I like the original design. I like the details of the dial. I like this movement at the price. I think the watch definitely stands on its own merits. So links will be in the description if you would be interested in taking a look at Pitzmann, taking a look at the Model 1, the Model 2, and what colors that this South Korean brand offers. Let me know if you have any requests for watches you would like to see featured in future episodes of Unusual Monday. And thank you for watching today. I appreciate it. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.